YouTube, it's Missy, and today I'm here to share with you guys my Tradeaway giveaway fall winter edition for 2019. Woo! I did a giveaway a couple months ago. I think it was back in June, and most of the people that participated in the giveaway, I already got all of their books, and I already filmed the video, and I will leave that video down below if you haven't seen it before. I did have one person who won, who contacted me saying, yay, she was super excited that she won, but then she never sent her books, and so I never sent her winning books. Does that make sense? So that is the reason why, this is a great example, why I ask you guys to send me your stuff first before I send you mine. Otherwise, she would have gotten books and I wouldn't have gotten anything, and it wouldn't have been a trade away, and I would have cried. It would have been super sad tears. So yes, if you are new to Tradeaway giveaways and you don't know what any of this means, Tradeaway giveaways was something I created years and years ago. Years and years, as in probably like 2 years ago, maybe 3, I don't know. But basically, I get books for you guys from bookstores or from my shelves that I don't want anymore, and then I give them to you guys, but we're trading because we're friends, right? I like you, you like me, we're all here together, and so I send it to you and you send me books, and that's how everything goes. And the winners are picked out of a hat, so it's all fair. I type everybody's name, I put everyone's names in a hat, I pull the names out, and if you are the lucky winner in the hat, then I wait for you to send me books. You give me a confirmation, either the routing tracking number from your package, or a picture is always good, and then I send out your winning books to you, and then we can trade. And I love trading because, you know, I never know what I'm gonna get. It's like a surprise. I have plenty of books here. A majority of them are going to be fantasy based. I went through my shelves again, reorganized, and pulled off books that I know that I will never ever read. I'm not huge into epic fantasy or like high fantasy, so if there's anything that has to do with kings or queens and it's not like a fairy tale retelling, I tend not to read them. Not because I don't think they're good, it doesn't mesh well with me. I don't really like reading about princesses or like kingdom politics or war between factions. Like, that's not my thing, so I stay clear of them. Now, if there's some kind of supernatural mystery, it's a fairy tale retelling of some sort, and something bad happens to the main character, that's different. I like that kind of stuff, but not princesses and kingdoms and all that stuff. I don't really care for those. So yeah, I will leave all of the rules down below. I always feel like a broken record when I do these kinds of videos, and so I'm just gonna get started. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 piles of books here, which means I can have 8 winners. This is international. If you want to pay the shipping, I will also pay the shipping. I have no problems in sending people books that live internationally as long as they're doing the same thing for me. You can also double dip. So if you wanted all 8 piles here, you could put your name down 8 times. It doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna win 8 times, because you can only win once unless nobody wanted that pile, and then you just kind of get it through, you know, default. Yes, let's see what else. So it's international. You can put your name in every single pile. You can only win once unless you're a default, and yeah, you have to trade with me. That's all the rules. You don't have to be a subscriber, although it's wonderful. I like having more people to talk to on my channel. And I do have an Instagram, so I do post on there quite frequently. Sometimes it's personal. Majority of the time it's like book related. So yeah, that's it. 8 piles. I'll start with the first pile. And by the way, because that girl in the last Tradeaway never claimed her books really. They're back in this rotation. So if you were interested in them before, they're here again. The first pile I want to talk about is the YA horror pile. I didn't read all these books. I'll show it to you. I did read The Turning by Francine Prose. Didn't really like this book. It's about a boy who has to go to this island to not babysit, but kind of like be the kids' mentor over the summer. They live on an island by themselves. It's a tiny island. The dad owns the house and the land or whatever, but he thinks that his kids are going to be bored during the summer, so he hires a nanny of some sort, which is this boy in high school, and he's supposed to take them outside and teach them different kinds of sports and just kind of be their playmate while the dad's at work. It seemed like a great premise, and it flopped. I just didn't like the way it was written. It was really odd. It was like in letter form to a girlfriend who lived on the mainland, but it's weird because he was writing kind of in the present, but sometimes in the past. It didn't make any sense to me. So I didn't really like it. And then we have What the Dead Want, and this is by Noah Olson, another YA horror. This is about a girl who is biracial, and she doesn't know it until she goes to her family's house, as in her mom's side of the family. She didn't know that this house existed. She didn't know that she had a great aunt. Her mom is missing. She's been missing for a couple years now. The girl, the main character, thinks that the mom left her. Some people think the mom is dead. The best friend of the mom still kind of makes sure that our main character is functioning properly, and her dad is a no-go. Like, he's always gone on business, so our main character has kind of had to raise herself since her mom disappeared. And I thought this was going to be a ghost story, and it's not really. And she's biracial, and it's kind of like racially driven, but not really. It kind of like dabbles in these different kinds of subjects, but never like brings anything to fruition. So it was kind of blah for me, but you might like it. I don't know. It's up to you. I'm giving this away as well. And then we have The Girl of Nightmares by Kendar Blake. Now, I did read Anna Dressed in Blood. I liked that book. I don't think it needed a sequel, and I've talked to many people who've read this book, and they've told me it's not, I'm not missing out if I don't pick it up. And I've tried to pick it up several times, but I just wasn't really interested. Oh, hey, look. The font is brown. I didn't even realize that. Or is it like a red color? I didn't know it was colored. Anywho, if you liked the first book, Anna Dressed in Blood, and you've been wanting to read A Girl of Nightmares, I'd pick it up. The main character and the ghost is still in this book. So there's that. All right, so if you're interested in YA horror, make sure you write down in this video YA horror. That's what you want. I will add your name to the hat. The next pile of books I have here is Advent by James Treadwell and Anarchy by James Treadwell. So this is the first. They looked amazing, and at first I really was interested in the synopsis, but now not so much. This memorizing fantasy draws aside the thin veil between the magical and the mundane. Yeah, it's a debut. I don't know. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't even know what these are about anymore, so I'm just going to give them away. So these are, you know, set. There is a third book. I can't remember what the title is called. I'll leave the picture here. But yeah, if you're interested in a magic story, I have the first two books in the trilogy, and I believe this is YA. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's YA. When I first bought it, I thought it was adult. Not that that would make a difference. I still don't want to read it. All right, next I have a book that I did read. This is Wild by Cheryl Stade. I found the paperback edition of this book from the, I think it was book off, which, you know, if I can get a book with a cover, I would rather have that than one without a cover. But if you don't really care and you've been wanting to read this nonfiction, then you can have it. It's got deckled edges. I absolutely loved this book. It was very informative, and it was a nice, like, just story in general. Cheryl decided way back when it wasn't super cool to do the Pacific Coast Trail that she wanted to do it, and she wanted to do it solo, and she wanted to do it solo with no hiking experience. Like, there was no internet back then. She kind of just went for it. She bought a couple of books. She read about the Pacific Coast Trail from some guy when he started doing it back, I don't know, was it the 70s when she did this? The 80s? I can't remember. Regardless, I am obsessed with hiking. I absolutely love it. So this book was amazing to me. She was so strong and brave and brilliant, and I was obsessed when I read this. I still think it's amazing. If you haven't picked up Wild, I would highly recommend. I haven't seen the movie. I'm not a huge fan of Reese Witherspoon. So if you've watched the movie and you think that she did a good enough job, let me know down below and maybe I'll watch it. But yes, this is just the naked hardcover. There's no dust jacket, which is a bummer drag. I bought it like this. I didn't know it was going to come without a dust jacket. So that's junk. But if you don't care, you can get that one. For this, you can just say magic hiking. I'll know what you know, pile you want. Third pile is just 2 books. First one is John Scalzi's Locke In. This is an adult mystery, sci-fi, thriller-y kind of book. I absolutely love John Scalzi. He does have a sequel to this, which is called Head On. It came out, was it the beginning of this year, I think? I had been waiting for the sequel for a few years, and it finally came out. I bought it, and I haven't picked it up yet. Story of my life. So, yeah, I love this story, so I wanted to share it. I bought it from Book Off for $1 and thought, absolutely, somebody else needs to read this. Basically, it's about a virus or a sickness that infected the majority of people, like more than half of the population. I can't remember the actual percentage. And what happened was they all go into this like coma-like state where their bodies aren't able to function anymore, but their brains are still alive. And the scientists of this world were able to connect the brain waves of the sleeping people to a robot counterpart. So the robot goes out into society, keeps the jobs, you know, talks with the people, is able to interact with society and life, but their actual human bodies are in beds and cribs and other places at their house, asleep, or not really asleep. They're awake, but they can't move. They're immobile, and so their family members or nurses or whatever watch over their bodies to make sure that it's not failing and that they're being taken care of. You know, like people who are in a coma, they have to be bathed, they have to be turned so they don't get bed sores, all those kinds of things. So this was fascinating. I really liked the premise. I also like the fact that our main character is a detective. He's a robot detective. His body is at home. His parents are watching it, and there's like this conspiracy going on, and a lab gets, you know, blown up, and they're thinking, oh, was it an inside job or is there somebody behind it? Very cool. Absolutely loved. Cannot wait for the sequel. Again, it's out. I just haven't picked it up. And the other book in this pile is A Spot of Bother by Mark Haddon. Now, I shared this book with you a couple of months ago in a book haul, and I said, this looked familiar. Yes, I did buy this twice. Again, story of my life. I do that constantly because sometimes I forget when I have. You know, I try to be very good and keep a good record of all the books that I own on Goodreads, so when I check, I can see whether or not I own it. somehow I missed this one, and the one that I did buy from Book Off is a paperback edition. So because they have two different covers, I didn't even notice that they are the same, like they had the same title. Basically, this is about a man who finds out that he has, like he's sick or he has cancer or something. George is settling down to a comfortable retirement, building a shed in his garden, reading historical novels, and listening to a bit of light jazz. Then his tempestuous, I think that's how I say it, daughter, Katie, announces that she is getting married to the deeply inappropriate Ray. Her family is not pleased, as her brother Jamie observes Ray has strangler hands. So that's all I'm going to read because I don't want to bore you guys. I don't know if this is going, this is probably like some kind of family, contemporary, like maybe a drama. The main character is 61. I like reading about older main characters, so I'm looking forward to this. Mark Haddon did write the Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. I thought that was absolutely fabulous, so I'm looking forward to reading more books by this author. So if you're interested in these two, you can just say Book Off, because I bought both of them from Book Off, and yeah, I'll know what you're talking about. Next pile, yeah, are books that I found, well, not all of them. The next pile is just a bunch of books. I will think about a title in a second. So the first one I have here is Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Every time I find one of these books, either at Book Off or the library bookstore for $1, I have to buy them to give them away because I want more people to read this particular story. It was amazing. I listened to it on audio. Jim Dale was the narrator. He is an award-winning narrator. He's won so many awards, and he's read like 4,000. Maybe that's like way exaggeration. Anyways, he's read a ton of books. His voice is amazing. He did all of the Harry Potter books. So he read this one, and it was, I fell in love. I fell in love. I love this story. It's about two illusionists that have to fight to the death, and they are like pushed into this situation when they're like 5, when they're babies basically, and they've been training ever since until they're adults to have this battle, and it's very magical, and I absolutely love it, and it has a train in it and a circus and illusions, and just, it was glorious. I absolutely loved it. So, and it's nice and floppy, so I had to buy it again for all of you. I also have Her Dark Curiosity by Megan Shepherd. This is the first book in the Dark Curiosity trilogy. I think there's only 3 books. I own this already in hardback, but when I found it for $1 at Book Off, I had to buy it. This is just the paperback. I don't know if this is like a newer book cover. I've never really looked into the paperback covers because I own the hardbacks, but I thought it was beautiful, and it's in perfect condition, so I wanted to share with you guys. And then, of course, we have Zombie Abbey by Lauren Barrett's Logstead. I did read this. I got this from, what was it? Entangled Teen. They sent it to me because I think I asked for it, or maybe it was unsolicited. Regardless, I really did enjoy this book. Not enough to keep. I think I gave it a 3-star, and I don't keep 3-star books, but if you watch Downton Abbey, which I've never seen, and you like zombies, you might like this. It's very fluff horror. The family's ridiculous. The zombies are ridiculous, but it was definitely a fun read. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it. Just not enough to reread. So yeah, it's paperback. 1920, England. Yeah, that's the thing. This is set in 1920, and I felt like the people should have been in a earlier time period. Maybe that was my hang up. I did read this over the summer, or before the summer started. So, anywho, if you're interested in this pile, you can just say any of these books. The Night Circus, The Dark Curiosity, Zombie Abbey. Any of the titles, I'll know that you want this particular pile. Does that sound good? Okay, that's 4 piles down, 4 to go. The next one is adult fiction. So we have here Catch Your Death by Louis Voss and Mark Edwards. Fear is Contagious. The cover drew me in. Catch Your Death, the title drew me in, but I think this is actually in a series and I didn't know, and this is like not the first book. But it says here, 20 years ago, Kate Maddox was a volunteer at a research center where scientists hunted for a cure for the common cold virus. I don't know if this is a political thriller or what happens, but when I found out that it wasn't the first book in the series, I decided I didn't really want to read it. And then we have Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I did find this in a paperback edition, so I don't need this giant hardcover anymore. If you haven't picked up this book, where have you been? This is the first book that I've read from Gillian Flynn. She doesn't write very many books. She only has like 5 out. And I was hugely upset reading this book. All of her characters are awful. They're unlikable, but it's so like engrossing. That's what I want to say. When I finally got to the end, I threw the book, but I kept it because, again, it's a good story. And if you can make your audience really upset, any kind of emotion really, but anger or love keeps them glued to the pages. That's what I think anyway. All right, and then we have House of Silk by Anthony Horowitz. This is a Sherlock Holmes retelling. This is the first book in this series. I don't know if there's 3 or 2. I don't know how many books are in the series. I already own this in a cover that I like, so I bought this on Book Off not knowing what the cover was, but I like the original cover that I had better. So you guys get this one. So if you are interested in the adult fiction, just say adult fiction, and I'll know what pile you're talking about. The next pile is an entire trilogy, and of course, you know, it's a trilogy, so you get all 3 books. This is how I used to purchase books. I would buy the entire trilogy, even though I had never read it before. Now, that's bad for me because I wasted my money, but it's great for you because you get an entire series in one go. So what I'm talking about here is the Lotus War Trilogy by Jay Kristoff. Now, he did do the, what's it called? The Illuminae trilogy with Amy Kaufman? Is it Amy Kaufman? I forgot her first name for a second. It's Kaufman, though. That's her last name. Regardless, I absolutely loved those books, but I'm not really interested in reading these ones. The first one is Storm Dancer. This is book 1. This is a cover by trilogy. Let me tell you, there's a Japanese girl here and tattoos, and I was like, yes, I need to read this. It says, Patrick Rothfuss says on the front, "What's that you say? You've got a Japanese steampunk novel with mythic creatures, civil unrest, and a strong female protagonist? I'm afraid I missed everything you said after Japanese steampunk." That's all I really needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear as well, but now I'm not interested in reading it. It happens sometimes. And then we have Kinslayer. This is book 2. Look how gorgeous the drawing is, the illustration. It's just, look, she's got the goggles going on, she's got the sound, amazing. And then we have book 3, End Singer. So yeah, I think it's just gorgeous. They're all beautiful. You guys get the entire trilogy if you're interested. Just say the Lotus War Trilogy or Jay Kristoff. You could say either or. Doesn't really matter. The next pile is 3. I thought it was only 2, but one of the books is really tiny. And you know what? If nobody ends up wanting this, I'm just going to give it to my local library. But I thought I would try. I know some of you guys have kids. So the first book here is Captain Underpants by Dave Pilkey. I just bought my child the hardcover of this. He does own like 12 or 13 of these books, but the first one was in paperback, and he said that he wanted it in hardcover, so they all matched. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it? So I ended up buying him the hardcover, so I don't need this one anymore. It's in kind of rough condition. I mean, you see that? He didn't do this. We got this used. I don't know if we got it for free, but there's some coloring in here. But all the pages are here. That's what is most important. So if your kid has read this and loves it, but doesn't own it, maybe they'll want it. You can read it. The second book here is a brand new first book in the School for Good and Evil by Soman Chinani. I finally got a hardcover of the first book to match with the rest of the series. I do own the first 3. I don't have the 4th book just yet. But I did get this for free from Barnes & Noble a couple years ago when my kids did the summer program, and we haven't picked them up yet. So this is in brand new condition. If you guys are interested, it's a middle grade fantasy. I think it's like, everyone was comparing this to like Harry Potter, but it's not. I don't know anything about it. I just know that it's a kid's book and I wanted it. And last I have Great Illustrated Classics, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I don't want this. I am getting rid of all of these because they're chunky and I don't want them. So you guys can have that. I mean, really the winner in this pile is the new book of the School of Good and Evil. But, you know, I got to get rid of all of them. So if you don't want the other 2, you can give them to a friend or the library or what have you. But there's that pile. My last pile in this giveaway is, again, another trilogy. I was planning on reading it when I first picked them up, and then a spin-off of the trilogy happened, and now I'm not interested. But that is the Falling Kingdoms trilogy by Morgan Rhodes. Yeah, this is supposed to be like Game of Thrones, but for YA. I don't know if that's true. I don't want them anymore. So we have Falling Kingdoms, we have Rebel Spring, and we have Gathering Darkness. Now, like I said, there's 3 more books, I believe, in this series, and I don't want to collect any more of these books. So if you're interested, just say Falling Kingdoms Trilogy. All right, my friends, those were all 8 piles. Of course, I will leave under each pile the name that you can write down in the description box if you are interested in winning any of these piles, so that we, you know and I know what you're asking for. All of the rules will be down in the description box. Like I said, it's international. You absolutely have to share, like trade with me. You can put your name in every single hat if you want, but you can only win once unless you default win because nobody else wanted the pile. So the 27th, this giveaway closes. On the 29th, I will post the winners. I will do the whole hat thing and hopefully send all these out by the first week of December because I leave after that. So we have to do this kind of quickly. No sitting on our trades this time. Normally I give you guys long time to trade with me, but we have to kind of rush this since I will be leaving the country around Christmas. All right, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys participate, and I hope you guys are doing well, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for watching.